Hello. This week's Parsha Ki Teitzei comes at a very appropriate time because it really has underlying ideas that really help us to do Teshuva, which is, of course, to be a better us, to return to the true essence of our name, of who we want to be, of who we could be, of who we should be. And through these warnings or through these mitzvot, we can really get a understanding of really how to proceed in this month in order to do that, to do real sustainable tshuva. So it starts out with Ki Teitzei l'milchama, and God tells us that when you go out to war, and this is a optional war, it's not obligatory. So already man has chosen to do this of his own volition, but God should help you, and you should succeed. And you take captives, and the man will see a woman, an Eshet Yifat Tawar, a woman, one of these beautiful, captivating captives, and you see her and you want her. Your instinct is impulsively you want to take her, you want to be with her, the adrenaline of war going, all that testosterone, and you want to be with her. So God acknowledges that is going to happen, because that's what happens usually in these situations. But God says, all right, you feel the need to do this. If he knows if he forbids it, for sure that it will just happen anyways. So he says, okay, you can do this, but there are conditions, and these conditions are meant to really put the man into a situation where he's forced for 30 days to think about it. And what the woman has to do is they have to shave her head, she has to grow her nails, she cries 30 days for her mother and father who she no more has around, and she's not attractive anymore. And if you still want her after all this, it really means that there's something deeper there, and it really means that you really do want her. And then God acknowledges that and then says, okay, after all that, you can take her, because then there's something real there, or at least very strong potential for something real to be there and to form over those 30 days. But if you don't, then let her go, and there are conditions for that. And Rashi tells us that the first three mitzvot that were given about the Eshet Yifat Tawar, about taking this captive woman, that if you do that, it leads to the next thing we're told about, which is God says, if a man has two wives, and one is the hated wife and one is the loved wife, that the man cannot show preferential treatment to the one that he loves. If the one that he hates has the firstborn son, he has to give him what is due him, the pishnayim. There's a double portion that is supposed to be that's supposed to go to the older son, and he can't just give it to the one that he loves more. Now, Rashi says that this is what happens if you take a wife, one of these captive women. So why would that be? Why would it be that if he takes her, it's going to end to a one wife who's loved and one wife who's hated? I mean, it seems obvious. If he takes this woman who he took on this impulsive feeling, and not based on probably why he took the other wife, for sheer goals, common ground, building a life together of what they want, but instead he took this woman just because of his base desires, then every time he sees her, he's reminded of the fact that it represents the lower self, something that he is not comfortable with, something that he's not proud of, and it leads to a hatred. And we know that how we see others is really a reflection of how we see ourselves, and he's going to hate her because it's going to be a reminder of that situation, of that he took her because he couldn't control himself. And nobody wants to be a person who's has no control over their life, and it just represents everything that's the lower self, everything that he's not proud of, and he ends up hating her, and then thereby ends up hating the son. But it's not their fault. As the Torah tells us, they still deserve what they deserve. You still have to treat them fairly, because it is your actions that led to the situation. And don't take out the fact of your poor decisions or your decisions that you're not proud of. Don't take those out on somebody else, even if they were the people involved. That it has nothing to do with them. It has to do with your decisions, and you still have to man up and do the right thing. And then Rashi tells us that, so that would lead to the two hated wives. And then the situation that we're told after is a Bain Sorer Mora. This is a rebellious son, which is a really exaggerated case, which we don't know of any that happened in history, and it's not going to happen in the future. But there's this rebellious son. We're told it has to be very strict conditions, and he has to be stealing money and has to be a glutton and drinking wine and just eating and all sorts of horrible things, and he doesn't listen, and you warn him, and the parents we're told have to be two parents on the same page as each other, that they brought the child up with the same rules, the same conditions, the same house, and everything has to align perfectly. And this is not a situation that really ever comes about, but where Rashi says that if it all stems again from the first thing, if you take the woman who you took under this situation, and then you end up with the hated wife, and then you have that situation will lead to the rebellious son. So now why would it lead to the rebellious son? And I was thinking, because it says one of the conditions is that the woman and the man have to be on the same exact page. So if the woman and the man are on the same exact page, it can't be the captive woman that he took, because they're coming from two totally different cultures. The likelihood of them being on the same page is very slim. And what about the other wife, the first wife, the one that we said that they have common ground and they have the same perspective and the same goals and the same lifestyle? So it has to be that wife. And what would that be? So I think that the case of that the Torah is trying to tell us is, if you're bringing up the child with the same exact goals, and you're setting a house with certain rules, but the child, with all that being the same from the mother and the father, why is the child turning into a rebellious child? And I think the reason for that is because what the child is hearing, the same rules coming from the same parents, and everything is just a verbal commandment, so to speak, of the family, but that their actions aren't the same, because he saw that his father went after his base desires, and that he might speak a big game and he might make certain rules, but why can his father go after his what he sees and what he wants and what he desires at the moment, and why shouldn't it be the same for the son? And that's what happens with children. It doesn't matter what you say or what your rules are. If they hear even the same thing from you and your spouse, and the house has rules, and you all follow the letter of the law in the house, but the spirit of the law is broken, if you're a glutton within all the commandments, that is going to have a negative effect. That is going to bring horrible consequences into your family, where your children will see it. And it's going to come out. And it's going to come out in a really strong way that you're going to pay for. And so you got to do the right thing. You got to do the right thing, not just by the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. And I think the Torah is telling us, be thoughtful. If you have an impulse to do something, take 30 days is always, if you can manage over 30 days, then you really got it under control. And make the right decision. Be thoughtful about it. Do the right thing. Don't just speak a big game. Act accordingly. And don't look for loopholes for yourself in your own life, because the contradictions are going to kill you in one way or another, either mentally, psychologically, through your children. It's not good, and it's not good for your overall growth. We need to live our life that's really genuine to our ideals. And so take the time and be thoughtful about it and work on it, and hopefully your efforts will be blessed and you can have a new beginning. Shabbat Shalom.